everyone, it's Heather. This is an attempt to voice over this video because I accidentally didn't plug in my external microphone, so the audio didn't appear. So this is what I'm making today, some beaded butterfly embellishments, and I've made them with a nice long back to them so that you can tuck them into pockets like that. I know they're quite chunky, but I quite like chunky embellishments myself. You could also stick them down if you wanted to, maybe layer some foliage or a flower or something over the stalk instead, or just coil it up, or just make the stalk shorter if you prefer. But I think they're really cute, and I've used butterflies and some cheap beads that I found in the craft room. There are a couple that I've made, and they're obviously still alive. Right then, so what you need to make these is a pair of snips and a pair of pliers. Now I prefer to use the round nose pliers because they make making loops very easy, so that's why I use those ones. You could use normal pliers. You're going to need some wire as well. I chose to use silver wire for this particular one. You're also going to need a punch or a die cutter or some pussy cuts or something to make your shape that you're going to add onto the wire. This is a viscous punch that I've used for ages. It's a lovely shape. I use glitter card for this particular project as well, and I chose to use silver because I'm using pastel shades for this particular book. And then you just want some beads as well. Right, so they're the beads, and you're going to need some glue because you're going to have to attach the butterflies together onto the wire, and also maybe a little bit of bling, so I did use some of those rhinestone flatbacks as well. So I'm just getting the wire sorted. I'm just straightening it out a little bit so it's easier to work with and easier to bead with. So I used some lengths of wire that were approximately 6 inches. Now I know that's quite long, but I did want a nice long tail so it was a bit more versatile. So I cut a couple of lengths of 6-inch wire ready to add a loop onto the end. So just getting those ready. What I'm going to do is just make a loop. I think I'll just zoom in there for you. So make a right angle at the end of the wire, about 1 centimetre from the end of the wire, and then literally just loop it back on itself using the pliers, and that makes a little eye that you can then dangle something off if you want to, but it just stops beads from falling off the end. So this is the second one. So just make a right angle about 1 centimetre away from the end, and then just loop it back on itself to make that little eye. So now I've got a couple of pieces of wire ready to go, and I'm going to start to bead. So on this one I've just picked some little blue beads. These are really inexpensive beads. They're made of plastic, so they won't break when they're in your journal, although I do use some glass beads later on. So I'm just layering them up, just using slightly different sizes, and I've popped a little white one on there as well for contrast. Now I get 2 butterfly shapes. I'm going to add some glue onto the bottom one. So you want the plain sides, you're going to stick the plain sides together, so you want the glitter sides on the outside if you're using glitter card or maybe pattern card. So I'm using some Trim It glue because it's really lovely and strong. And then we pop the wire in the middle of the butterfly when the glue's been applied, and then add the glitter card butterfly on top and just sandwich them together. Just make sure that they're sandwiched well, and that they line up nicely, and then you can just sort of tilt the wings towards yourself if you want to. So there we go with the beads and the butterfly on. So we're just going to add a few more beads to the top of that one, and then we'll bend over the stalk and add another loop on the end so that it doesn't catch on anything. So just adding a few extra beads on there, and then I'm going to take the pliers and hold on to the wire with the pliers, and then I'm just going to bend the wire over the top just to make that stalk, and that's what will sit in your pocket. So then do exactly like I did before, is just make a loop, right angle at the end of the wire, and then just loop back on itself, and that way it doesn't catch on anything. It's nice and safe, it's not going to jab you, and it will easily fit into a little pocket. So that's the first one, a little blue one. Right, the next one I'm going to make is using slightly more neutral beads, so I'm going to use some glass beads. I've got a bit of a shimmer to them, so I'm just going to layer those up. You notice my hands are quite shiny, that's because I'm wearing hand cream. It did make it a little bit difficult actually to handle the wire, it was a little bit slippy. Just getting that bead on there, so I'm using some just some white beads on there as well, some pearl beads. Then using the same technique, just adding some glue onto the blank side of the butterfly, just spreading it out there with the pin. And then I'll pop the wire onto the butterfly in the middle and then sandwich the other butterfly on top, and just make sure that it fits nicely and lines up well. Just giving it a bit of a squeeze and then just tilting, just making sure it's okay on both sides, just tilting those wings towards me. Okay, now I'm going to add some extra beads on top. Using similar beads for the bottom and the top, but obviously you can use any bead you like. And now I'm going to loop it over again, so just holding it with the pliers and then just twisting the back over and making a loop at the end, just like I did with the first one. So they've got a nice long stalk, really easy to pop into a pocket. Very cute. And with that one I'm going to add a couple of rhinestones on the wings just to add a little bit more bling. I'm just adding a couple of blobs of glue. This glue is really strong, it's fantastic for little rhinestones. So I use the pin and I just dab a tiny bit of glue on the end of the pin, and then I can pick up the flat back rhinestones really easily. So just popping those onto the wings of the butterfly just to add a little extra decoration. Obviously if you don't have glitter card but you want to add some glitter, you could just glitter them up if you wanted to. It's lovely. So then I pop that to one side. There we go. Doesn't that look pretty? Pop that to one side to dry. And this is an alternative that I made. Instead of looping the wire over, I just used the excess to make two little coils, one at the top. I'm just saying how I use some flat pliers and just sort of coiled it round. And you could use a little bit of string, so you could make that into a dangle basically. Isn't that sweet? Now I was just saying that I used to make pins, embellished pins, but I stopped using them because I didn't like the idea of somebody hurting themselves with the pins, and that's where I got the idea from, so I thought I'd use the Y with the little loops on instead. And I've used up some cheap pearl beads, so thanks very much for watching. I'm sorry about the strange voiceover. Hopefully next time I'll remember to plug in my microphone instead. And thanks very much for joining me. Take care, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye!